Yo, AK, this video has some long-term dynamic and static flexibility goals for you for both the hamstrings and the hip flexors. To start off here, for an example, the dynamic one that we're doing for the hip flexors is our high box lunge or the front foot elevated split squat. You know that right now we do this at a height about this, and we do it to be able to get a stretch in the hip flexors, but we want to build it down to a height that's like this at first, which is like a single staircase in height. The main difference being that knee has to go further and further back out to stop touching the floor. We do not want the knee to ever touch the floor. And we eventually want to build it down to a height like this, where the heel's elevated off the floor, but we are doing it on flat ground. So as you can see, my knee still goes over my toes when I come down, hamstring to heels, torso upright, I'm squeezing the back loose, that knee's just further out, and this means that we're diving it more into a front split. The corresponding static flexibility with this is the couch stretch, where the most basic version we do right now is like this on the floor, squeezing the glute, torso upright. A more advanced version is the toes being elevated onto an object whilst trying to push the hips down towards the floor. And then a more advanced version after that is keeping that position, but now we're trying to close the distance between the heel and the butt. We want to build up to this position eventually, and it should be easy for us to get into. For the hamstrings, a good dynamic one that we do right now is elephant walks. The elephant walks are when we get onto all fours and we bring two knees in and push one knee out. An example of making this a beginner level is starting with a high object. We can build down to a low object. This is like 2 staircases high. And then build down to lower it again. This is like 1 staircase high. And eventually we want to be able to do this with hands on the floor, relatively close towards our feet. So something like this. But ideally we want those toes even closer to our hands than this. Being able to straighten those legs out fully towards the floor. The static flexibility goal in conjunction with that is just a static hamstring stretch. So we put that front foot onto an object, keep the toes pulled right back, try and straighten out that leg. And first off, we could start off with something at waist height. Then we could build up to something like this, where it's about belly button to mid-chest height. And then we could eventually build that up in the future towards being about 45 degrees in the air or about chest to shoulder height. That would be a good long-term goal for us to get. And for the upper body, shoulder dislocations are a great way to be able to track your shoulder mobility and what it's improving to like as time goes by. As you know, you grab hold of a bar and you use a grip wide enough that you can get the bar completely round your head towards the back of your hips and back round. What I want you to do is grab where it is that you're presently using, get a pen, and put a little mark across the bar of where it is that you're currently up to. Because if you measure where it is that you're currently up to, then something you can do is you can make some little targets. You can go in about 6 inches from where you are right now and put some little lines inwards from the bar. And then next time you come around to doing the exercise, you have some little targets to be able to reach as time goes by. And what we're looking to do is we're looking to decrease where your grip is right now by about 6 to 8 inches, or get about 6 to 8 inches narrower along the bar. And then once you've mastered one particular range, you can move on to the next one, and so on and so forth. And hopefully over time, we'll have some big gains for your shoulder mobility.